Greetings. Today we are doing greens. That's right. We're making some greens tonight. Daddy, we're gonna make some greens. Got the greens. We're gonna make the greens. Hey, greetings. It's like 1:45 in the morning. I'm gonna make some greens, a little meatloaf, probably something with it too. Anyways, let's get started. Got my pan already getting hot. Gonna add 5 strips of bacon for the base of the greens. Now, one thing I thought about, as I've done this a couple times, is the fact that no one really probably gives a shit about how I chop up vegetables. They're gonna do it their own way. I'm not here to teach a fucking cooking class. I'm just here to, do a little fun. If you learn something, great. If you're inspired to try cooking, great. But, fuck, you don't need to learn. You don't need me to show you how to chop fucking peppers and onions and shit. If you can't figure that out to begin with, you should probably figure that out before you start cooking some shit. Alright, so got the bacon going. We're gonna let that fucking cook down for a little bit, get some of the fat out, the fat and the flavor. Then we'll start adding in our fantastic vegetables. Okay, that's cooked down. We are ready to add our greens. I have collards and turnips. I've never worked with turnips. I've never eaten turnips. Hell, I'd never made greens till 6 months ago. And what I found, I was doing research on how to do the recipes, it seemed was a lot similar to how my grandma's green bean recipe comes out. And then I realized my grandma's from southern Indiana, so there's probably some carryover of the cultures there. So we're gonna add our greens in. These will slowly wilt down. Add about half of them, give them a stir. Get all the good mixed around in it. Now, when I made the green beans last time, I fucked up because I spilled my leftover pot liquor. I set the bowl too close to the sink and I lost it all. So I'm starting a new batch, with these greens. So I'm gonna have a nice fresh bunch of the leftover good brown broth that's left when these are finished up, which I'll have for the next time I make beans or greens. I'm going to turn the heat down on that a little bit. Don't want anything to burn. And we're going to let these greens wilt down. They do not take very long to do that. But I have to pause for the cause. Alright, those are nice and wilty. The vegetables are good and soft. Get the flavor coming. And before I add the broth, I'm going to add some seasoning. You know how I do. I got to do my boy adobo, man. Good portion of that. And this has in it, it's got salt, garlic, tricalcium phosphate. That's always delicious. Black pepper, oregano, turmeric. Makes you sneeze. Makes your food taste good. Some crushed red chili flake. Fresh cracked black pepper. I think that's it for now. So we're going to add our chicken broth. One 32-ouncer. So just a few more things. It's a tight squeeze in this kitchen. What do you want? A little Worcestershire. I can't think of anything else I need in here for now. So we're just going to let this sit, cook down and simmer for 3-4 hours till it all gets good and nice. And while that's doing that, I'm going to lit it up. And we're going to get on. Okay. These guys have been on for a couple hours, and I'm going to check them. and see if they need any additional love. I'm going to add a cup of beef stock. I'm going to add a splash of apple cider vinegar. Gotta have it. Oh yeah, yeah. Gonna lid this bad boy back up, like so. Let it continue to cook, probably another couple hours, which is good because the meatloaf thing I had an issue with, but I'll explain that later. Got a pound of ground beef on our bowl. Egg, what I'm gonna do is take some oil and my brush, go to the inside of my foil pan, because I'm classy. And I can use each one of these like 3 times. So, alright, so we got the inside of that all slicked up. So we got the ground beef, got our egg. For mixing the meatloaf, I suggest doing it by hand. It's the best way to check texture. When I worked at the mill in the kitchen doing prep, I had never been able to make a good meatloaf before, and then I had to make meatballs all the time, and that was one of the things the owner was really pretty AR about, was that they had to have the perfect meatball. So I got pretty decent, I think, at making the meatballs, and one of the things I noticed is when I would be doing it by hand, you could feel when the mixture was at the fermentive point with breadcrumb and such to be ready to put to the oven. I want to be able to do that with my fancy black gloves. Now we're going to add white onion, jalapeno, de-seeded again, red pepper, it's one of my favorites, shallots. Those are kind of my standard go-to giddy-ups. I've got some plain breadcrumbs here. We're just going to add them as we go, and I've already got some in here. They're already open. So we'll add these bad boys, and we're just going to add about that much. Wow, this is really heavily vegged for a pound of meat. You know what Craig just discovered? Craig's going to have to get another pound of meat. We'll be right back. Wow. Because I'm an idiot, it's like an hour and a half after I left because I was going to get a 2nd pound of ground beef. Unfortunately, I did not have any thawed, and obviously since it's like, well, it was like 2 in the morning and now it's like 4 in the morning, I had to thaw one. So that has been thawed. I have added it to my bowl with my vegetables. I've also seasoned it, some of the adobo, some ground black pepper, some garlic powder, some Worcestershire, some more breadcrumb, a little bit of fresh thyme, and I'm going to put a sprig of rosemary on it. I also added another egg in since the 2nd pound of meat. Obviously, I had to get rid of the foil pan as well, so I went to my big boy. I did oil it already, but you've seen me oil the small one. It's going to be the same as the big one. Just going to use the hands. Get this worked in there. Get all the veggies, all the meats, and the seasonings in there, and that is a little loose. Just gonna add a little breadcrumbs. Keep adding these so this mixture gets tight. Don't want it to be a fall aparty meatloaf because that sucks. Although I bet a Josh party meatloaf would be good. That guy's a great chef. Can't believe I had to thaw another fucking pound of hamburger. What am I gonna do? Not make the meatloaf up to that point? That's bullshit. Just a wee bit more. I know that seems excessive and whatnot, but trust me. You know, also, to add all those breadcrumbs, I'm gonna have to add some more seasoning, so I'm gonna deglove seasoning because, you know, if I was a professional chef, this shit wouldn't happen. I'm not. I'm just a fucking idiot in my kitchen trying to have a good time. Let you have a good time. Let's everybody have a good time. A bit of more the old adobo. Gotta have one of these, man. Eventually realize I use this stuff in like everything I make. Not everything. I'm not gonna put it in mashed potatoes yet. Not that I'm averse to perhaps trying that. I used to cook everything really, really super just hot and spicy because I hadn't really learned how to cook yet. I remember I gave my dad some chili once and he asked me, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that? Put up the fucking weeds to kill them? I'm like, what the hell do you mean? He goes, Craig, you fucking make fucking mashed potatoes hot. This all stems from the incident when I was making this weird recipe that I had found from the Frugal Gourmet for, I believe it was like a Biafran stew or something, but it had chicken and beef in it, root vegetables, but it called for a lot of heat, and he just thought it was just plain old fucking stew, and so he fucking lit himself up and was then pissed at me after that, you know. I understand it, but also don't go fucking eating shit you don't know what it is. Alright. That is tight. We're gonna loaf it up. I think this is gonna be a beauty. Alright, yeah. Okay, the loaf is in the pan. Meat. Another thing is I need to make a glaze. What are we gonna use for glaze? It's a tiny fucking kitchen, you know? Some old good old chup. So I'm going to use some horseradish mustard, a little horseradish cream, salsa. This is some local stuff I get out of Hy-Vee. That's made in Ankeny. I've had a lot of their sauces. It's good. This is fucking fantastic taco sauce. So a little mixer bowl for the glaze. This is gonna give it a little heat and a little fresh. This thing is like all their stuff's really super fresh. Generous amount of chup, because that will help thicken it, tighten it up. Horseradish, stone ground mustard. Horseradish paste. Tiny little butter knife. Or tiny little jelly knife, whatever. Tiny little spreader. Tiny little spreader. It's also good for shrimp. Tiny little spreader. It's got some zazz to it. Alright. I'm going to take this one sprig of rosemary, put it across the top. Now, like fucking 3.5 hours ago, I turned the oven on to preheat it. So I've had to turn it back on and preheat it a bunch of times because it's on a timer. It's a shitty toaster oven. Anyway, so it's warm. It's ready. I've got it at 375. With this loaf being the 2-pounder, I've never actually made one this big. I'm going to say it's going to take at least 90 minutes minimum. So I'm going to put it on for 90 minutes, and when it dings, I'm going to come check it. We'll go from there. Anyway, my fucking meatloaf. Howdy. Alright. So, 90 minutes in the old oven. I'll take this beauty out. See, it's pulled away from the sides quite well. Glaze looks good. Couple spatulas. Yeah. Out of the frying pan. That's a beauty. Now, I will say, I have the idea of flipping it upside down and glazing the whole thing and making it like a fucking cake. But I'm not going to do that because it's ridiculous. I'm going to dump this meatloaf fat into greens. Whirl. So I cut a slab off there for myself. Gonna good old scoop on it. Get a bite with the old glaze. I did good. That's the best meatloaf I've ever made. There's texture, flavor. I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. Hey. It was like 6:30 in the morning. I've been up cooking all night. And I'm not going to make another side right now. a good looking meatloaf. Alright, yeah. Back in the kitchen, making our cheesy potatoes to go with our meatloaf and our greens. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this half stick of butter, throw it in the pan while she's melting. I'm gonna take 1 cup of milk, a tablespoon of cornstarch, and I'm gonna shake that up in this jar. Cold water, of course, or cold milk. I mean, if you're making a slurry with water, use cold water. If you're using slurry with milk, use cold milk. And I don't know why you'd have warm milk and going to be using it for a slurry. Hot chocolate, yeah. So, I mean, you could seriously take warm milk and powdered cocoa and theoretically make a chocolate slurry, I suppose. That's just some dumb shit. Got the butter melting down. Take our cornstarch slurry, add that right into the old yama yama. Got that melted down. We are now going to add 10 ounces of Velveeta. This isn't actually Velveeta, this is the off-brand cheese, Velveeta cheese stuff thing. And you know, use whatever you want. You don't have to use Velveeta, use whatever cheese you like. I happen to like this, so I grew up on. Alright, we're just gonna let this cheese melt down slowly and lowly. Create a nice thick sauce. Oh yeah, one more thing. This might seem weird. I like to use some dried minced onion, and this is far easier than, you know, cutting like mud of onion to put into it. Hit it with a little garlic powder as well. A little paprika. Alright, we're just gonna let this slowly melt down, blend together, become a sauce. Now, the cheese sauce is for our sliced potatoes. Now, to be honest, I'm using sliced canned potatoes today because they're good, they're just fine and tasty. They are cooked to the proper absolute consistency I need. Sometimes when you're cooking them, they overcook, you undercook. You don't have to worry about these. They're exactly where you need them to be if you want. Also, this is a time saver. And as I am, you know, cooking basically for myself, there's no need for me to make, you know, 5 pounds of potatoes when I can just use like a couple cans like this, dump them in the pan. You know what? I've got like 3 servings. That's enough for me to eat twice. Give somebody one as a gift. This is actually the pan that we oiled up for the meatloaf originally, so it's already good to go. And as soon as that cheese sauce is ready, we're going to dump it on top of those potatoes, slam it in the oven at 350. Let it bake up, get a little crisp on the top, and we'll have a meal. We'll have a damn fine meal, having a meal. Meatloaf and cheesy potatoes are one of those things, like as a kid, it was one of my favorites that my mother made. She never made greens. She's white. You know, greens were something that I never had until I experienced them being in the South and stuff, but gotta hit it with a little fresh cracked black pepper. Fresh cracked black pepper. Now, I know you're probably expecting, well, when's the Goya pack come in? Good orangey stuff. It's not going to. This is one of the few things I don't use it in. I don't want orangey cheese. If I wanted orangey cheese, I'd get Kraft. Yeah. 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 This is going to be fucking stellar. I probably have too much cheese sauce here for the amount of potatoes I have, but you know, it's extra cheese sauce. How bad can that be? Throw some jalapeno in it, a little seasoning, dip. Maybe add some, you know, have it leftovers, maybe add over some cauliflower or something later. Rarely is anything I cook a one meal situation. Somewhere there will be leftovers to be added into something else the next day. I don't like to waste food. Obviously, I don't like to waste food. Look at that, look at that, yeah. Suck it in though. Do this, stand like this, feel, yeah. Yeah, fucking making some cheese sauce, man. Got a Fast and the Furious 4 on the TV for like the 1000th time since pandemic. I likes those movies. Cheese is melted down. Grab our tater pan. And I'm going to set that down because it's probably going to be hot. Slowly drape the cheese sauce right over the top. Here, let me get it so you can see me draping it. Flowing cheesy goodness ribbons surrounding the potatoes. Oh, one of the grips. All right. The potatoes have been cheesed to the oven. Those guys won't take all that long in the oven because the potatoes are cooked, the cheese sauce is cooked. Just basically to bind it up, tighten it up a little bit, get a little crisp on the top, and then we'll be ready for plating. So here we are. Potatoes are in the oven, getting their cheese crisped. Greens are warmed up. They've had a chance to sit and soak all night, get reheated, bring all that together. I'll take a couple slabs of my meatloaf, add a little extra glaze to it, heat it up in the oven. Then we're just going to serve this big bad boy plate up. I'm going to show you how I eat meatloaf. Thanks everybody for stopping by. I'm gonna eat my meatloaf and get back to the business at hand.
I love Ortega's sauce. It makes my taco pop.
Missing the party. Come on.